Support for this podcast comes from Owens Corning Air Care Contractor Program. Uncover hidden opportunities and take your HVAC business to the next level with Owens Corning. Owens Corning has done the work to provide you with a turnkey system from sales training to in-home tools with a simple story that practically sells itself. Add duct replacement and attic insulation to your service offering as a part of our program and elevate your sales today. For more information, visit owenscorning.com/retrofit-contractor.
Welcome to the Successful Contractor, powered by Success Group International, a show for residential contractors about residential contractors. We chronicle business journeys, share insights, and celebrate successes in this wonderful industry. I'm your host, Bob Houchin. Hello there, SGI family and other contractor friends. I'm so thankful that you're here. As always, this is your reminder that all episodes of the Successful Contractor Show are available on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast player of choice. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to remind everyone that registration is open for your SGI Fall Expo. It will be held in beautiful Temecula, California. That's Southern California wine country. The dates are October 8th through the 10th. If you haven't heard, by registering early and attending Expo, you could win a big prize. It's SGI and Learning Alliance's Success On-Site giveaway, a visit to your office worth up to $20,000 by an LA trainer, Brandon Marshall, or an SGI coach. Register today by clicking on the registration banner on your SGI Hub website. Today's show is our second ever SGI Monthly Member Panel. These are interactive, live programs where an SGI coach joins me and two other SGI members to discuss a particular topic. This monthly member panel featured Michael Zeller from SGI, Wendy Ellis from Capital Plumbing and Heating in Edmonton, Alberta, and Joe Zimmerman from Summers Zims in Atglen, Pennsylvania. Joe, I hope I got that right. Among the four of us, we discussed the 5 qualities of great leaders. And all great leaders demonstrate these characteristics. This was an exceptional conversation and an insightful one. Wendy and Joe have been highly successful operators for a long time, and it's due to the fact that their team just absolutely loves them. But that love's earned, and you will see exactly how they earn that love over the course of this conversation with Wendy and Joe. So with that being said, here's my discussion with Michael Zeller from SGI, Wendy Ellis from Capital Plumbing and Heating in Edmonton, Alberta, and Joe Zimmerman from Summers Zims in Atglen, Pennsylvania, as we discuss the 5 qualities of great leaders. I hope you enjoy it and take away a nugget or two. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in to our second ever monthly member panel. As Michael shared, we've got 2 great members, great business leaders, great SGI leaders with us to discuss the topic of leadership. In particular, we're going to talk about 5 qualities of great leaders. So without further ado, our first panelist I will introduce is Miss Wendy Ellis from Capital Plumbing and Heating in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So Wendy, please. All beautiful. You got it down. All right. Also joining us is Mr. Joe Zimmerman from Summers Zims, and I'm going to mispronounce it, Atglen, Pennsylvania. Joe, how are you? Good. Go, Joe. I think you're on mute. There we go. By the way, Joe, what's it, an hour outside of Philly?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, excellent. So, all right. Well, before we start digging into questions, I think it's important everyone gets a little bit of a scope of each of your operations. Ladies first, Wendy, kind of just share with everyone what's your revenue goal for Capital Plumbing and Heating this year? What's your employee breakdown look like, kind of office, and then field, and finally, kind of share what your management team looks like. So three big questions right there to start off.
Thanks, Bob, and thanks, Mike. You guys know that it's hard to stop me when I get talking, so please just make the sign. But I own Capital Plumbing and Heating in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and we have currently at this point 15 employees, and just like every company, frantically looking for more. We have I have 2 managers and 2 CSRs up front, and they are CSRs slash dispatchers. They wanted to learn how to do everything, so they do. Yeah. And then we have 10 trucks out there right now with technicians in them, and they are all cross-trained in everything. They can plumb, they can do AC, they can do furnaces and whatever else. So it's a fun and it's a really close, tight-knit team to be a part of. Sure. Our revenue goal for this year is $3.8 million.
That's good.
And after last year, we're really hoping, it looks like we're going to get there because we're having an unprecedented heat wave in Alberta too. So it looks like we're going to get there with no problem. My leadership style is, well, the guys all laughed when I walked into the training room this morning because my kids have bought me a coffee cup that says "like a boss" on it. And they just had a jiggle because it isn't, I don't act like a boss. I mean, bottom line, if something needs to be done, it is done, but it's very collaborative. How would you like to see this done? What would you like to see us do? Show me how that looks if you've got a different way to do something. So that's how we operate around Capital. It's very much everybody has a say in everything.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you so much. Joe, kind of the same question to you. Let's start off. Kind of what's your revenue target for this year at Summers and Zims? What's your total employee count, kind of broken down roughly, office and field, and then what's your manager situation look like? Who's helping you run the operation?
Okay. At the end of this month, we'll be about 6.2 million with just a couple months to go. So 7.2, something like that, 7.4 maybe to finish out our year.
That's great.
We have a little over 30 people and 8 of us in the office and the rest in the field. And how many managers we have, I was looking at that. We can get into that as we talk about leadership, but I would say out of the 30, at least 15 to 20 of those are managers.
Okay.
Meaning they can think on their feet, they can make decisions on their own without calling me to make the minor decisions.
Right. That's good stuff. Wendy kind of contributed to the extra of what kind of a leader she sees herself. And I know we didn't script this, but Joe, how do you see yourself as a leader? How would you classify yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. Good question. I heard her say that, and I thought, wow, I wonder what my leadership style is. I would say a helper. I enjoy coming along and helping people. I don't necessarily have a few chores I do every morning, but for the most part, I'm kind of there to help everybody else in their roles.
That's great. I love that. There's lots of qualities we can talk about of great leaders. We kind of identified 5 that we're going to talk about today. And the first quality we're going to talk that great leaders all have is they kind of clearly define what their organization stands for. And Wendy, we'll start with you. What are the core values of Capital Plumbing and Heating, and how often are they kind of presented in the business and discussed amongst your team?
Okay, we have signs all over the office stating our core values. The one behind me actually has it there. And they are deliver an unequal client experience, build a positive team and family environment where people's goals can be achieved. We want to know what our staff will need. Embrace and drive innovation in every department. Continue to learn and improve through a commitment to training. And we do that continually. And build open and honest relationships with our clients, our team members, and their families.
That's great. How often they're all over the office. Do you talk about them much in meetings? Are they part of the onboarding process when you bring a new employee in? Are they discussed then and kind of introduced then? Maybe talk a little bit more about how you utilize them.
Definitely in the onboarding process. When we onboard anybody, it's the 3-day process that was set out by SGI, and it works really well. We review them because every once in a while I look at them and I think, do they sound a little bit too formal for what this staff is? And let's make sure they understand what that means. So we'll talk about, I'll pull one out and say, you guys, do you feel like we're doing this? Do you feel like this is what we're doing? And so we talk about them probably at least once every 3 weeks. We'll throw something into our training about, are we doing this? Is this who we are?
How long have you had them established? Was that before you bought the business? Obviously you were there before you bought it, but was that something you and Greg established? Did you guys collectively come together with those some years ago?
Yeah, we did. Probably only about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
We didn't have any formal process in place, and it was like, let's make sure that we all feel the same way.
Did you? Was it just the two of you that came up with them, with the other managers, or did you kind of have a team session to discuss what you guys all value, or maybe talk about that process a little bit? Because I know there's people that are going to watch that go, we need to do that. We just haven't done it yet.
It turned out to be a team thing because Greg and I started talking, and it sounded very stiff and formal. And is this who we are? Or are we just putting something out there because we're supposed to have a mission statement and core values?
Sure.
So it ended up being a team thing. It started off with the managers throwing together some ideas, and then up to the team. Is this who we are, or who do we want to be? Yeah.
Great. Very good. Thank you. Joe, let's start off with the same question to you. What are the core values of Summers and Zims, and kind of how do you use them in your business, day to day, weekly, or whatever? So what do you say to that?
The 4 core values that hang around our place are honest, excellent, gritty, and good-natured. The honest and excellent, I think, are just kind of assumed.
Yeah.
We get more traction out of the gritty and good-natured.
Yeah.
And those come up in conversation a lot, I think. Either sarcastically, if guys are ribbing each other, they'll say, well, that wasn't very gritty, or that's not very good-natured, or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're in front of them. And shortly after we put Gritty on our list, the Philadelphia hockey team picked a mascot named Gritty, so we got a little extra attraction out of that. So
that's great. So I'm intrigued by this gritty. What did you guys define as gritty? Is it just that you can come up with any kind of a solution, or are you willing to actually go the extra mile? What does gritty mean to you guys?
Well, there's a story we always tell in our onboarding when we talk about gritty, and that is a story about my dad when he was a kid. We sold milk tanks for dairy farms, which is kind of like a stainless steel hot tub.
Yeah.
And the deal was the farmer was to help Dad get the milk tank in and out, and then he would do the piping and wiring. But one farmer was disgusted that my grandfather didn't come out, that he sent my dad instead. So he refused to help. So my dad, you have to know him to appreciate it, he decided he was getting this thing out by himself somehow. So he stopped up the drains in the milk house and then flooded the milk house until the tank floated, took the windows out, and shoved it out the window. So that's gritty.
That is gritty. That's gritty. That's funny. So how do you talk about gritty with the team, though? When you talk about being gritty, what does that mean day to day for like your techs in the field?
Yeah, I'll mess you all up because I think one of your future questions is about making mistakes. And,
that's all right.
You can make a mistake by doing something incorrectly. We all do.
Yeah.
The only things that drive me crazy are the ones where you come to a fork in the road and you sit down. That's not gritty.
Right.
Make a decision, keep moving, get the thing done, find a way to overcome it.
Yeah.
And this time of year, we're learning that for sure with all the equipment shortages.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we could just tell a customer, I'm sorry, your unit's 3 weeks out, we can't do anything, but
sure,
we find a way. We get the old one running, we switch brands, whatever it takes to try to get that thing in.
Right. Now, when did you put pen to paper and actually, publish internally your 4 core values? How long have they been around?
We joined SGI, I'll say 6 or 7 years ago, so it was a little bit after that. Mm-hmm. And Doug, one of the guys in the office who has the unfortunate position that I can see him when my door's open, so I tend to stay all day long. But I was thinking we were those 4 values, I think, long before we put the signs up.
Yeah.
They were more recognized and encouraged than it wasn't some think tank that we all sat around and say,
sure,
what kind of people do we want to be?
Yeah. Did you introduce them, or did you just start hanging them on the wall and everyone just kind of acknowledged that they were there?
We hung them on the wall for sure, but we were talking about them before the banners, I'm sure. Good-natured was not my idea. I thought that was I liked the theme, but I thought that was kind of a cornball way to say it. But it has stuck so much. Our customers, if I go into the local diner, there's always an old guy there. I'll say, here comes the good-natured guy.
That's interesting.
They stick. And I think the unintended consequence of the good-natured guys, which is our slogan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've attracted good-natured customers.
Yeah.
Our techs, if they would come from another contractor, will often say how friendly our customers are. Huh. And I think through the advertising, people relate to, I'm good-natured, and I'd like to use a good-natured company as well.
Sure. That's great. So good-natured was a tagline before it was a core value.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, very good. That's great. That's really good. Good stuff. I guess as a follow-up, is there any part, because I asked Wendy, when new people join your big business, I'm sure new people are coming all the time. Do you guys talk about core values, or is it just something that it's on the wall and people recognize them?
Each one of those, we have a story in the onboarding process that we talk about.
That's great.
Which I won't bore you with every story. You heard the one about the gritty, but each core value has a real life story from our company that goes with it.
That's really good. I mean, people remember stories more than they remember presentations. So I think that's a really good idea. That's a good nugget right there. All right, let's hop to our next leadership quality we're going to discuss, and that is great leaders invest in their people. And their people, they can see that and they appreciate that. So Wendy, let's hop over to you. I know you guys are big into training, but can you kind of explain what your training process is like for each department? So, how many days a week are you doing it? What kind of training are you doing? Who manages it? Lots of questions right there. So take it away.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the managers. We meet every week and talk about training. We take advantage of every LA Live leadership training course or manager training course that's out there for Shay, and that's with myself and Shay and Ryan. Then with the CSRs and dispatchers, of course, we do the onboarding program with them. Shay meets once a week. We set aside an hour once a week where she sits with each one of them individually to find out what else they might want to do, how things are going, what else they might want to learn. Yep. And every year we redo telephone essentials. We redo the courses. You have to just redo them all the time.
That's great.
And on the technician side, we train every day. Every day now that we're back in here. The guys meet upstairs at 7:30, and pardon me, we train on their safety and technical issues once a week, technical training, and we have equipment in our training room for that to happen. And we have role playing, customer service. We have a day that we call just our fun day, where our guys write individual thank you cards to one customer a week that they made a connection with that has nothing to do with their service, like nothing to do with the actual technical side. How did you make a connection with this customer? That's great. And where we celebrate, KPIs or Google reviews or something, we print all those and go up. And we use our senior technicians to do a lot of that training upstairs. Okay. And you might be the wrong word. They enjoy doing it because if they're doing quality checks or they're talking to the guys out back, they can see that, oh, we need to review this part. Okay. And so they do that. So Brian is in charge of coordinating all that training. We have a large calendar for the month where it's spelled out what we're going to train every day.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, and it can change if we notice a problem coming up. Yeah. But that's exactly how it goes. I go to those training meetings every morning also because that's it's so sometimes they ask me a question if they need to, or I love the role playing part. So sometimes I'm one that helps lead the role play. And so it's a daily thing here.
That's great. I feel like call center doesn't always get enough attention, so I'm going to follow up with a question there. You said Shay sits down with each individual once a week. Is that right? Okay. Yeah. And you said they'll talk about maybe what things they want additional training on, or what else is discussed, and also because I hear this a lot. How do I find time to pull someone off the phones to do this? So how do you manage that with your schedule?
Well, if you don't find time, it's going to cause a problem somewhere down the road. Right. So that's why we established Thursday afternoon for an hour for one, Friday afternoon for an hour for one, and we just know. Yeah. And either Ryan and I will jump in and answer telephones here, or, that's the way it works. They don't want us on there for much longer than an hour. They are. But most of the times we find that other than the formalized LA Live training, that most of our training concerns are brought up by people who are experiencing something. So one of the, Amanda might say, I've had 4 or 5 people call today that are just really angry, this week who are really angry about having to wait. Right. And so it's kind of like, okay. So it allows Shay to start making a list of things that perhaps, okay, let's do a list, let's do this, and let's do this. So
Okay.
every training session for the CSRs is very focused on what they're experiencing.
That's great. We kind of like we'll script out how to handle that. She will do that with your. That's great. That's wonderful. Maybe also talk about. I love that you mentioned role playing. I think it's something that doesn't get talked about enough. But you said that your team just got together finally for the first time in a while because of the shutdowns. But they wanted to role play, right? They enjoy it.
They do. A new employee is always uncomfortable. Some of the employees who have been here 4 years are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But they still have to do it.
Yeah.
Because the room is such a good team that they're not picking on anybody and they're not doing whatever.
Right.
If somebody struggles, they're usually giving him quite a hand or her quite a hand to make things go ahead. But they know what has to happen. Right. So they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys have been doing it for many years. It's something that's been a big part of your culture and your success.
10
that's
years.
Wonderful.
For sure. Yeah.
Will you role play certain situations, or is it you do the whole call from beginning to end?
That changes. Sometimes there'll be a situation again that's come up because we review invoices all the time as a team also.
Right.
So it'll be like, okay, we seem to be having a problem presenting options.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have them jump into the middle of a call. Sometimes it's like, let's all just get a refresher, as right now, because we're all back in the office again. Go outside the door here, knock on the door, let's go through an entire call. And then see how it works to make sure we haven't forgotten anything.
That's great.
And so it's always based on what's happening with the guys or the girls out there right now.
That's wonderful. Good stuff. Thank you so much. Joe, same question to you. What's your training process like at Summers Zims? How many days a week are we doing it? What kind of training, who manages it, all that good stuff.
First off, I guess kudos to Kevin and Kenny. They're the two guys that do the bulk of our training.
Okay.
And they've been doing all sorts of creative things during COVID. Trying to do the training via the iPads that the guys use in their trucks so they can sit in the truck and watch training. But typically, without universal pandemics, we meet Tuesday and Thursday morning. Tuesday morning is like SGI training. Thursday morning is technical training. Mm-hmm. And then Wednesday morning, we meet with the younger guys who ask any questions that they might have been afraid to ask on Tuesday or Thursday morning.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Because those young guys don't want to talk up when all the seasoned vets are sitting around.
That's right. Yeah, even though we know very well they didn't understand what was said.
That's great. Now, do you guys do any kind of role playing or your SGI training? Let's dig into that. What does your SGI training consist of?
Yeah, Kevin, I thought there was a little bubble over my head that said, please don't ask me about role playing. But
no, that's all right.
I'm the opposite personality. I hate role playing, and Mike knows even things like this are a struggle for me. But but our SGI training it could be webbed in with somebody from Learning Alliance Live, or it's just Kevin watching the training and then reciting it back to our guys. A lot of we try to raise our average tickets by being extremely thorough.
Right.
So it could be a mix of technical things as simple as, checking run capacitors. And I don't know, I'm talking over my head now, but apparently when I did it, we used to take them off and check them with a tester. And now they say that's not as good. You have to check it while it's being used. And so there's a lot of thorough things and how to give those options to the customers, the 5-year run caps versus the $12 ones on Amazon.
Right. Now, will your guys fill out a paper inspection? Is that required on every call? And do you classify good, not so good, definitely need to be addressed?
Yeah, in fact, we use what is called the iManifold. And as we had a guy doing a ride along yesterday, and he just came in and was telling me that when the superheat and subcooling get to what they're supposed to be, then the iPad actually changes from red to yellow to green, so that we know it's what it should be. And I think the other good thing that's happened this summer when it got hot, because there is a list and you have to check everything off the list when you do maintenance, we have less callbacks with our own customers.
It's amazing how that happens. Yeah. So let's talk about that, because I do hear this question, and even good members struggle with this. When you get guys that just don't want to do the checklist, or they forget to do the checklist, how is that addressed? What is it if I forgot to do it in 2 calls today? What happens to me tomorrow?
Initially, I mean, we were somewhat patient. That's kind of Kenny's gig. He's our technical guy, but he just flat insisted that it has to be done by the I-manifold checklist. And I don't know if it doesn't let you finish the checklist, but there were certainly times early on when people would, I don't know, not check the run capacitor or not check the motor amperage with the door closed or something. But they probably got sick of hearing from Kenny, so they finally gave in and did it.
Okay. So it's part of the culture now. Everyone just accepts that you have to do this.
Yeah. In fact, Mike and I were talking yesterday on our coaching call. Our club conversions are really good, and it's because the guys really believe in maintenance. That is part of the culture after many years, that if you maintain the stuff, it'll run.
Yeah. Do you guys all do the 3 options with every kind of a repair type of a situation? I know HVAC is a little different, but
that Kenny does that all on Tuesday mornings. The wood could should routine. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to do this to get it running, and you should do this repair. And if you want to, you could just replace the thing.
Yeah. Is the club membership automatically included in each one of those options? So it's just kind of an assumed sale?
I would say the club membership would be in the middle tier, meaning I have to put this part on.
Yeah.
But, we could have avoided this in the first place if you had a club membership and had the maintenance done. So it's usually the middle of the road. But
okay. Yeah. Very good. You said ride-along, so I got to bring it up. How often are ride-alongs conducted with you guys? Who's doing them? What's the rotation like?
Kenny and Kevin do ride-alongs a good bit. The ride-along I was discussing yesterday was actually just a kid from the community trying to decide if he wanted to do HVAC or not.
Oh, okay.
So I would say we've done a dozen of those in the last couple months, of kids trying to decide if they want to go to trade school or things like that. So
that's great. That's great. Was that this has nothing, well, I guess it has to do with leadership a little bit, but I'm going to chase this rabbit while it's there. Is that a relationship that you fostered with a local trade school or a trades high school? How did that come about?
Yeah, there's a local high school for sure. 2 kids came from a youth center that we had a relationship with. And a lot of it is friends and relatives of people that do work here.
Okay. Now, so do you do anything at the school in particular? Do you speak? Does anyone teach over there? I've heard all sorts of things over the years.
We have done different career days and things like that, but I think mostly it goes back to a positive feeling that our own employees have about working here. So they're spreading that word to their friends and relatives as well.
That's right. You're the good-natured guys. Of course you do.
That's right.
Support for this podcast comes from Home Depot Pro. With an inventory of more than 100,000 products, the Home Depot Pro's product selection includes both the name brands you seek and the exclusive brands you trust. For more information, go to www.ebarnett.com.
Welcome back to the show. I'm talking to Michael Zeller from SGI, Wendy Ellis of Capital Plumbing and Heating in Edmonton, Alberta, and Joe Zimmerman from Summers Zims in Atglen, Pennsylvania. And we're talking about the 5 qualities of great leaders. It's been hugely insightful so far, this conversation. It's only going to get better. In the second half here of this conversation, we're going to answer the following questions. How do you let your people fail? How do you keep open communication with your team? How do you reward and motivate? And we took questions from the live audience that we had at the time. So let's jump back into this conversation I had with Michael, Wendy, and Joe. Our next quality that we're going to talk about, great leaders share, is they set expectations, they allow their team to execute, and they also allow them to fail without micromanaging. So, Joe, let's hop back to you. We'll let you lead it off this time. How do you set expectations for kind of each level of employee at Summers and Zims? And then as a follow-up, and you kind of talked about it a little bit, what happens when someone makes a mistake or a manager in a department struggling? How do you kind of use those instances as learning experiences?
I think as far as physical mistakes, we're very easy on that field, but encouraging people, I don't know, I'll just think this morning, generally I'll start my day by writing in my planner, if everything else goes wrong today, I've got to get these one or two things done well today to have a good day. And I called the one fellow, Jeff, this morning, and I said, it's your lucky day because one of those two things I'm not doing that you are. I want the job you're on to go well today. And he said, I'll treat it like a big game. We got to win. So, so the expectations were set for him, not so much the mechanical tasks that he was doing. He can certainly handle that. I said, but I want that to be a very happy customer when you leave. And he took that very well, and I'm sure they are. Sure.
Do you do a lot of one-on-one type of conversations with the managers or leaders in your business, or is it mostly just team settings, team meetings where things are discussed and expectations are kind of rolled out?
I'd say a lot of one-on-one. Fortunately, Ethan, my oldest son, is our dispatcher, and he'll often send me, just the other day, and if any of our team's watching this, I'm going to hear about it, but he asked if I would help one of the guys get a water heater in a basement. So I ran out and got there before the guy did and told the customer, I said, hey, I'm here to help on the water heater. I'm a little early. Is it all right if I get down in the basement and get started? And I did, and chatted with the customer a little bit and left before the guy was done. And the next morning, the plumber comes in and he hands me $10 and says, hey, the customer, when I was done, said, your helper was really nice. Could you give me this tip?
That's great.
So a lot of things, I get a lot of opportunities like that just to give a guy a hand for whatever they're doing. And I enjoy getting out of the office, and I don't think the guys mind it too much either.
No, that's that's just a great demonstration of leadership that you see. They see that you're not, you're willing to pitch in and help where it's necessary. That's really good. I like that a lot. That's great, Joe. All right, Wendy, kind of same question to you. How are expectations kind of communicated with your employees? And then kind of what happens when people fail? How do you make it a learning experience versus a beatdown experience, which we all
Once in a while, there probably is a beatdown. No, the expectations, you start off when you first hire them, telling them what's required as they go through training and whatever else.
That's great.
Again, it's everybody plays a part in that. So when we look at, in our training room, we look at our invoices with the team every morning randomly. Okay. They understand what gross margin means. They understand offering options. They understand Capital Club membership. So most of the time, I'm fortunate enough to be able to stand back and listen to them help each other.
That's great.
Maybe you could have done another option this way, or maybe this could happen. Yeah. Ryan meets with each technician once a month to review their actual KPIs, but we meet with them every second week, like we're meeting with them on a regular basis, just to go over, did you struggle, or was there a problem here, or can we do this? Because if we leave it for a month, it's a month wasted type thing.
Right.
And so Ryan and I will talk about areas of concern we might have each morning, from what I'm looking at with invoicing and whatever. The CSRs up front will bring up any concerns they might have. And sometimes expectations are tough, but it's all tied to when the job is complete. That means there are paper inspection forms, paper health and safety forms, paper diagnostic forms, because the customers like the paper forms. Yep. There need to be pictures before and after, and they all need to be up front so the girls are closing that invoice.
That's great.
Before it transfers over to payroll. That's just the way the system works.
Yeah.
There's usually not a problem with.
That's great.
With them completing things. Sometimes the expectation to reach specific KPIs needs to be taken care of. But
sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I like that you also, Ryan meets with them and discusses their KPIs so they know what those are. You mentioned that your people know what gross margin is, and I think that's something that's fantastic, and I think would help a lot more businesses if you explain to their people, that every dollar that they make isn't going into your pocket, right? There's all these costs. So how did you originally talk to them about what gross margin means and where all the dollars from a replacement sale, for example, go?
You know what? We just jumped into it, and it was a matter of I need you to understand why we're priced the way we are, which was really helpful to people who were coming on board to straightforward pricing, right?
Right.
This is why we're priced the way we are.
Mm-hmm.
So they all understand that time and materials or lost materials or not enough material affects their gross margin.
Yeah.
They understand that commissions even do that, because if Dave's going to go out and sell something and then we don't do a great job putting it in, it's going to make a big difference, right?
Sure.
We also share things that go below the line. I don't share
Okay.
the entire financial statement with them. But when we're talking about why we're priced, or if we're changing the prices in our books or whatever else, it's like anybody, we sat in a room one morning with everybody and said, how much do you guys think we spend on employee benefits?
Oh, yeah.
How much do you think it costs for our fleet insurance?
Yeah.
And just ask them. So they're all really cognizant of that, and they pay attention. So when we look at the calls in the morning, one of the first things they'll notice, we use Successware, and be like, oh, that gross margin doesn't look right. What could you have done differently? So it helps to include them. It also, for the financial benefit for us, but it makes them feel like they really are part of this company.
Yeah.
They get to contribute everywhere.
That's wonderful. I love that. Good stuff. Thank you, Wendy. All right, let's keep moving along because the time is flying. Another big trait of great leaders is communication, and you guys have illustrated that in your answers already. But your employees, your team members, they want to know what's going on in their workplace, right? They don't like the surprises. So, Wendy, let's start with you now. You've talked about all sorts of ways that you guys communicate formally. So I'm not going to ask that question again. How about just informally? How many conversations are you having with your people in the morning? Who are you talking to? Or are you kind of quick and in the office? I don't think that's you. So maybe talk about how communication, what it's like at Capital.
Ryan and I talk to every guy every morning, every single one. I usually am standing at the back door with my coffee as they're loading up their trucks and doing that. I start off with Jeff in the shop, because if Jeff is happy and smiling, everybody else does much better. You know that things are going okay supply-wise.
Sure.
But I talk to them all. Both Ryan, Shay and I, we all have offices right in the front office by our CCRs and dispatchers, so we can hear everything.
Sure. If
somebody comes into the office and chatting and is talking to Ryan, I go over there and say, how you doing, or what's going on, or what's happening on your call. We have a big Wahoo button in our office for whenever anybody does something well. If the girls did great, happy call, so it's like, and then it's like, okay, what's going on,
Yeah.
Our office is wide open. We are all available by phone if necessary. Fortunately, nobody's calling me all the time, because it's like, what is she going to do? Shay's better at this and Ryan's better at this.
Yeah.
And the group itself, we have a group on Facebook and a group on text that they help each other out all the time.
That's great.
So we all see each of us or talk to each one of us every single day.
That's great. Wonderful. Joe, same kind of question to you. You've already outlined all the great ways you guys kind of talk formally, but maybe informally. How often are you talking to everyone in the office? What's your kind of routine in the morning? You smiling and stuff like that, or just kind of share what the environment is there at Summers and Zims.
As far as the office goes, we probably talk too much. My wife comes in, every other day or so, and sticks her head and says, would you please leave these people alone so they can get something done? But the 8 of us in the office are talking all the time.
Yeah.
And, it's a small community, and just by geography, our guys are dispatched from home, meaning their clock starts when they get to the first job. But if there's 25 guys, 18 of them are here every morning, hanging around, drinking a cup of coffee anyway, or at the end of the day. And some of the younger guys, we have a little fitness center on site as well that they're in too. So
that's a good idea.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. I like it. Wonderful. All right. The next quality I'd like to get your guys' insight on is great leaders know how to reward and motivate, right? So we ask a lot of our people, we ask them to train, we ask them to role play, we give them KPIs to hit. So you need to reward and kind of motivate them and to show your appreciation. So Joe, let's jump to you. How do you compensate your team in a way that they want to push their performance? So, what's compensation like? Is it what kind of performance pay you guys do? Is it commission, or what do you guys do over there?
We're still hourly. Guys are paid hourly. There's spiffs for certain things, and we have what we call boot days that we can talk about in a little bit. But I think primarily the guys perform because they know they're cared for and respected.
That's great.
I know I can't do what they do. They're better at it than I am, and I respect them for it. And I think that goes both ways. My skills are different than theirs, and they respect me and know that my part's needed as well.
That's great.
Kate is across the wall here. She's the finance person. I wouldn't want to do it without her. I can't do what she does, and she can't fix furnaces. So the mutual respect is probably the biggest thing. In fact,
that's wonderful.
I was thinking that when you were talking about training, when COVID hit, our average tickets actually got better when our training stopped. And it obviously isn't because we train less. It's because we have a group of really good people that knew, hey, times are really tough. I can make the most of every call. And it's with people like that, you're not going to lose very often.
That's great. Now, you mentioned boots, so I want to bring this up specifically, that you go above and beyond, more than just the compensation. You find ways to really show your people that you appreciate them. So kind of share what are some things that you've done for your people just to know how much you care about them.
Yeah, it started years ago. It was in a hot summer that things were just tough, and we brought in a Red Wing boot truck and parked it in the parking lot and just told everybody, walk in and pick out a pair of boots. So even though it has nothing to do with boots anymore, we still call it Boot Day.
Okay.
Periodically, we'll just have a day unexpected that it's either gifts or chicken barbecue or home run derby or whatever. The biggest one, we did a couple kind of wild retirement things. Paul Riddle helped us one time. A fellow retired after, 45 years of service or so. And he helped us give him a Harley Davidson at his retirement party. But
oh, wow.
This past summer, we were really slow in the beginning of COVID before it got hot. And then we're trying to make up for lost ground. And we kept telling the guys, just keep working. There'll be time to put your feet up later. And all summer long, we said that. And then in October, we brought in 10 or 12 different choices of Lazy Boys, and then just told the guys to pick. We had a food truck there and just made kind of a fun afternoon of it and said, pick your Lazy Boy and put your feet up.
That's awesome. I've looked at the Lazy Boy store. That stuff's not cheap. That's great, Joe. That's wonderful. Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. Wonderful. Now, Wendy, I know you guys do some fun stuff. Before we get into the more fun stuff you guys do, how is your team kind of compensated to keep them driven? What kind of incentives are there at Capital?
Okay. We pay by the hour too here. So, they don't mind the time and a half for on call and whatever. We have a fairly extensive spec list.
Okay.
And because we have a lot of selling technicians too, when they reach certain levels of packages or equipment or whatever else, they also get to take part in the commission, which is even more so than the spiff.
Sure.
We have contests. We have a spinning wheel for anybody who hits their revenue goal that month gets to spin the wheel. Because we know them well, we have specific gift cards on them. It's kind of like, we know they're going to like this, so let's do this.
Right.
We do breakfasts now that we're back in again. We can do that. We do breakfasts one Friday for sure every month where everybody can come and just have bacon and eggs. And if it's been a spectacular month, Ryan's convinced me that and we've done it, is steak and eggs and everything else that we want.
Sounds good to me.
Sometimes it's just the small things. Because it's been so hot out here, a couple of mornings I've just gone out back with a wad of cash in my hand and said, I want you to make sure you get lots to drink today. I want you to make sure you get some lunch because I know we're going to be busy. Yeah. I want you, when you go home, to make sure you take your family for dinner or buy skip the dishes or something because they've been going like crazy.
Sure.
Our CSRs are included in all of that kind of stuff. And we also have spiff lists for them too, so they're included. They're just as important on what can happen there. I love love the boot and the lazy boy idea. That's really cool. We've done trips to Mexico for Capital Club memberships and whatever else. And
Sure.
right now, the majority of my guys are cash motivated.
Yeah.
However, there are some that enjoy the thought that if they're busy, fine, here's a paid day off to add in or whatever. So
yeah. And I've seen your team at Expo. You bring lots of people to Expo too. I know that, so they get to experience that. That's wonderful. Good stuff. Wonderful. Thank you, Wendy. All right. Well, we are getting to we're rolling through here. I want to get to some more questions. We did get a question from the membership. We got a funny one, but we're running out of time, so I'm not going to get to that. But Mr. Dave Hill asked, what key elements do you look for when recruiting for your leadership team? Now, Wendy, I'll go to you because I think most of your leaders have grown internally, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of answers that. When you did elevate those individuals, what about them made it an obvious choice that they could be a leader in your business?
Okay. First of all, an absolute trust and buy-in into the SGI process. Mm-hmm. It's you either are in or you're out, I find, in this type thing. So it's like you've got to believe in the training and whatever. For both of Shay and Ryan, because they've grown internally, it was how well did they listen to when people were asking them questions? How well did they, how willing were they to spend some time helping to find a solution? I look for people who can really think on their own. I call it the common sense syndrome, and I think we're all, tell me what a solution is. Everyone who works here knows that I will listen to anything. But even the technicians know, come into Wendy's office with the problem, what you thought of might solve that problem or a way you see it changing, and she'll tell you yes or no. Mm-hmm. Tell her how much it is, if it's something that involves expense, and she'll tell you yes or no.
That's great.
I like people who can think for themselves and who aren't afraid to think for themselves. Sometimes somebody new in that position has to challenge you a bit because they don't know. It's like, just think for yourself. And so lots of times I don't have to solve any problems with the leaders that I have here. And I found that with CSRs, technicians, who's going to step out just with their servant attitude? How can I help you guys?
That's wonderful. Good stuff. Joe, same kind of question to you. Well, no, a little different. Let's go back to the original question. What the managers that you have, the leaders that you have, were they all internal people that have grown up, or have you had to hire some into those positions?
No, I guess other than Doug, they're all internal. Rob was a sheet metal guy. He's been here 25 years. Kevin was an HVAC tech. Joe was a plumber. Ethan grew up here just as my son in the grunt. The only guy Doug started here in February. He was a baker for 25 years, had his own bakery, but and his role will be a little unique to the rest of them. But Steve, they all grew up here.
What's Doug's role? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Doug's role. We brought Doug in. We've had some success in getting young guys and teaching them the trade, and it's worked really well. To be honest, we don't have many needs of that for employees. I mean, we pretty much have what we need and can get them. What we have realized, though, is we might need to teach these guys more than just HVAC and plumbing. Mm-hmm. So, Doug, when we get the COVID protocols all squared away, in August, he's going to start doing some Dave Ramsey classes.
Oh, good. Yeah.
He'll be just in, general life skills as well as he doesn't know anything about heating and air conditioning, so we're not going to learn much there from Doug. But but life skills in general, he's going to help with too.
That's great. He can make a mean loaf of bread too.
There you go. And barbecue chicken. He's good at that.
Oh, there you go. Before I jump to questions, just for those in the audience, and we've got a pretty good group, I think 50 people or so. If you have a question, type it out, and I will get to it in a minute or two. But I wanted to give you a minute to type those out while we continue to talk. So no need just to sit here and quiet. So please do that while we continue. Zeller, you've been sitting there looking so pretty with that beard. So let's throw a question to you. You've been in lots of leadership roles, had your own business. You've had a leadership role in the business after that. What are some of the most common qualities you've seen in the very best leaders you've worked with and worked for?
So it's interesting because as I am sitting here listening to Joe and Wendy, I put a little list together before of what qualities I think are really imperative to be a good leader. And as they're talking, I keep checking them off because they're hitting a lot of these boxes. So I think it says a lot about you two. So great job and great job on today's call as well. But that's part of the reason why you're on the call is how well
True.
and how well you guys are doing as leaders within your business. So I wanted to say that first. So thank you both. For me, I kind of have a short list, which is, a leader has to operate with honesty and integrity because they need to inspire trust in their people. And if their people won't trust them, they will not follow them.
Right.
Obviously, you want the old cliche of leading by example, but that is absolutely an imperative quality as well because no one wants to say they're going to emulate what you do. They have to be effective communicators because the idea of folks wanting to follow you is that you're going to motivate and inspire them. And it's very difficult to do so if you cannot communicate to them. And I think another great quality, and I know this about both your teams as well, Joe and Wendy, is that you both have emotional investments in your team. I've had conversations with both of you over the years, and I could see just how emotionally invested you are in your team. And if you really want your team to be emotionally invested in you, they have to know that you're always looking out for their best interests. And you both do that extremely well. And I think lastly is that, great leaders tend to give credit to their team, but when a team fails, the leader takes it upon themselves and takes responsibility for the failure and tries to look, what could I have done better without pointing fingers? And I think as well as you both exhibit all of these qualities in one way or another. So that's kind of my short list of being a good leader.
I love it. Good stuff. We had a question come in, and I'm going to pass that along to Wendy and Joe just to get your insight. The question was, how do you compensate higher management? So the operations manager and the general manager specifically, do they get a percentage of sales or net profit as commission? And if so, how much? So Wendy, you want to take that? How are your managers compensated? Do they get a percentage because if they hit a certain gross margin goal? I know that's something I've heard with some companies.
Well, first of all, both of them come to every expo with me, and we add on an extra 3 or 4 days all the time so that we have a chance to debrief and vacation together. But we created, 4 years ago, we created our Capital Plumbing and Heating Equity Program for employees, which down the road will be open to senior technicians and CSRs and everything too. Right now, it is only for management, and it allows us to make bigger annual bonuses based on the things that are important to us and important to them. So, for example, Ryan is directly, his is based a lot on gross margin. They both are, but because those are areas that he can directly influence.
Yeah.
Shay's is based on how we can keep our operating expenses in the right place below the line, how are the KPIs for CSRs. And what it does that way then is it allows me to bonus larger amounts because we retain 40% of that in a separate small company that they own called the equity program. And then each quarter when we review things, we pay them interest and dividends, and we tax it at the time we award it so that when they take that out, it's like a different kind of retirement plan. The tax has been paid on it. It's there. It's there. And so that has been really interesting because it's a bonus or a benefit to us, knowing that we're still using it to keep track of some important numbers.
Yeah.
But they both pay attention. It's good.
That's great. Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's important just that people get bonus on stuff they can control. I think that's what people should
and with
do.
the two of them too, I don't restrict their holidays. If they decide they have to, and so sometimes they don't take enough holiday. And you guys can do this. And you make special dispensation. Well, we do that for all of our staff. Like there's a time where Ryan has to be home with his kids until 9 in the morning and go home at 3 o'clock. And so, okay, that's fine. Let's just do this. So
that's good. Good stuff. All right, Joe, I'll pass that question to you from, I can't see who asked it, but how do you compensate higher management, so operations managers, general managers, Specifically, do they get a percentage of sales or net profit as commission, and if so, how much?
Yeah, we're not very creative in that sense, and kudos to Wendy. That just her whole company presentation seems creative and very, very well run. Our managers are either salary or hourly, and when it comes to bonuses and things like that, it's really company-wide as far as profit sharing at the end of the year. They get a choice of, and we take a little bit of a hit in Pennsylvania tax-wise, but they can either put the entire bonus in their 401k, or they can take it all home or split 50-50 or whatever they want to do. But that's more dependent on the company as a whole. So we're not very creative on finding ways to, on tailoring bonuses to gross margin or anything like that.
No, that's all right. That's still good insight. Thank you, Joe. All right, we are really closing in here. I'm going to hop around. Zeller, let's get you a little more pub here. You once told me you had a program that created buy-in, or you saw something that other members had done with buy-in with significant others. I'm butchering this terribly, so save me here. What have you seen other members, or what have you done to help get significant others show their appreciation for them when their husbands or wives are working long hours in those hot summers or super cold winters?
So I think what you're talking about is the baskets that we used to send out before season. So, the worst thing you'd want is an employee that is bought in, is willing to work late, and then goes home and has their significant other yelling at them because they're not home enough, right? Yeah. So our thought was, if we're really going to capitalize on, season and have the folks really willing, we needed the spouses to be bought in as well. So before season, we would send out a basket, and we wouldn't tell the employees we were doing this. We'd send out a basket to the significant others, and we kind of did it based on gender, right? If it was a female, it might have certain things in it. It might be a massage, envy kind of thing, and some other nice gifts in there. And if it were the guy, it might be a gift certificate to barbecue stuff or whatever. But the point is we would send out these gift baskets before with a really nice letter saying that we really appreciate you. You're a big part of the success of the company, that your significant other is a big part of why this company does so well. And we just want to thank you for sharing your significant other with us during season, and you're highly appreciated for doing so. So we would do that. And then the response we got when the employees came back in would be, they'd all be blown away because they didn't expect that to happen. And the wife or husband would say, wow, your company, look what they did. I got in the mail today or delivered today. Yeah. And then, of course, we would do at least, we would do team building events, but at least once or twice a year, we would do a team building event that included family and children and, a barbecue or something in the park or the beach or something like that. And we'd always try to involve them, because if you really want your folks to stay long term, their significant others have to be bought into it.
That's great. Good insight. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for saving me. I was kind of butchered that question. All right, Larry, last question, because we have hit an hour, but I think this is a good one to end on. And Wendy, I'll throw it to you first. How do you continue to develop and grow yourself as a leader today?
I belong to a couple of outside groups, like the Women Presidents Group or whatever. Usually when anybody in our staff is training, if it fits, I do the training again too. Yeah. I always go to Expo, and actually it doesn't matter if it's Expo or a group line, and this is not me just trying to curry favor. I've written down about 3 things Joe has said that I'm going to steal and go ahead with. You pick up a nugget no matter how. So I think the important thing is to always be open to it.
Yeah.
I read books. We take classes. Lots of times I'll take classes with Shay on developing her management skills. So I will also do that, which also makes a difference to mine.
Sure.
It's kind of ongoing all the time. There's always something to read, a question to ask. I'm not embarrassed to ask anybody a question.
Sure.
If I don't know an answer, or I think you sound like you have a better way, then I'm probably going to be giving you a call. Right? So, yeah.
That's great. Wonderful. Good stuff. Joe, then same question to you. How do you continue to develop and grow as a leader today?
I enjoy reading, so I'm an avid reader, whether it's leadership books or biographies. Certainly SGI, and my youngest son Jose was just kind of caught off guard when he heard that I have coaches, SGI coaches, and a local coach that comes in once a month and meets with me to hold me accountable to what I said I was going to do next month. And he said, "Why would you ever do that if you got to be the boss?" And I said, "Well, I'll be the boss next month too." So yeah, so accountability is probably the biggest thing. We probably have enough good ideas if we actually execute them.
That's Michael Zeller from SGI, Wendy Ellis from Capital Plumbing and Heating in Edmonton, Alberta, and Joe Zimmerman from Summers Zims in Atglen, Pennsylvania. They all graciously shared their insight on the 5 qualities of great leaders in our most recent SGI Monthly Member Panel. Thanks for joining us. If you feel like you have a great story worth sharing that would also help other contractors, email me at bhouchin@yoursgi.com. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode, if you're on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. If you're on your favorite podcast player, leave us a 5-star review. And please join us for future episodes. It's my promise to you that we will continue to interview successful contractors and other influential individuals in the residential contracting world. This is The Successful Contractor, powered by Success Group International.
Support for this podcast comes from Redesign.co. As an SGI member, you can receive a 100% fully optimized website that's hosted for free. Have a website you already like? Redesign.co can dramatically boost your presence on Google free for 90 days. Redesign.co also has a full-service digital marketing agency that can assist you with your online needs, including PPC. Call 208-261-9898 or visit sgileads.com for more information, including to see how you can get a free consultation of your current website.
The Successful Contractor Podcast is part of the Success Group International family. SGI is the largest member-owned best practices organization for independent residential services contractors. SGI provides its members a competitive edge through proven proprietary management tools and expertise, marketing programs, training, and group buying power, along with a highly active and eager to help membership. For more information about Success Group International, visit www.yoursgi.com.